Good morning, everybody. This is Madolche Madeline here with the first in a new series called the Madolche Salon, where we are going to be discussing the new sets, Banlist predictions. I have a few players here today. Why don't you introduce yourselves, please?
Hey guys, my name's Edgar Gonzalez. I'm a local judge here at the Georgia area. I've had judged, I don't know, probably somewhere around 15, 20 state regionals. I've judged a lot of other events, including YCS and AWCQ. I've been playing the game, I don't know, somewhere around a dozen years or so. Yeah, a little bit about me.
My name's Sean Miller. I have been playing the game since what feels like forever, like LOB. My first real experience with Yu-Gi-Oh! Was as a kid playing in Chaos format with a bunch of random cards like everybody else my age. Some of my favorite decks to play of all time have been Spiral, Drytron. I'm currently playing Lightsworn Tier. But yeah, I've just been enjoying some would say the ebbs and flows of this game. We're just here to have a little fun discussion.
All right, and hey everybody, my name is DeMonte Cole, or also known as Flea. If you've known me or have heard about me, I'm infamous for playing Infernities. I've played Infernities since 2013, Dragon Ruler format until current format, and yeah, we're here to discuss the future of the game and the current situation.
All right. So the purpose of this salon, like we just said, is we are here to discuss upcoming changes to the game, especially this set we are talking about, the Infinite Forbidden, that's coming out this week. Super excited about the Infinite Forbidden, and we're just going to get right into the discussion. What are y'all's first initial thoughts on info?
I am, as a Drytron player, I'm really happy for the support. Having, 4 free negates just because you're playing the level 12 monsters, and then if they out it, you get 2 disruptions by sending cards from their field to the graveyard. That's pretty nice. What do you think?
I think the new 2 is actually just amazing. You don't need to rely on just resolving alpha zeta anymore. You can actively go Nova special new 2 and be able to combo off just off of that. Making Nova a 1-card combo is probably what the deck needed the most. Kind of sucks that you're locked into machine rituals, but you take what you can get with a lot of support these days.
And guys, we still lose the draw. Yeah.
Us in every deck that says search.
Yeah, it's balanced. It's cool.
Nah, I definitely agree. Especially like as you were saying about the deck being like machine locked. I think that's okay now that they have new support. Because it pretty much allows them to do new lines and not essentially just summon Herald or any other standard ritual line. So
Chaos Max.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
I mean,
that deck can do the ritual Chaos Max. So
it's still nice to have that follow-up Natasha steal in case they say I'm gonna break your board. But
yeah, and Ben 10's at 3. So
Yeah,
Ben 10's at 3. Herald of the Orange Light's at 3. You still have plenty of options of disruption.
Yeah, Herald of the Orange can be played in a couple of things. They splash it in Madolche. But let's, of course, talk about the elephant in the room that's taking over the OCG and probably going to be taking over the CCG here at Nats coming up. Let's talk about Fiendsmith. How do you feel? What are your thoughts?
I hate that it's $109 card, something like that.
The secondary
monster.
price,
Konami, please. This card could have been an ultra rare. It still would have been like $60, but that's so much more affordable.
Yeah, but this isn't the first time we've seen something like this, so it's okay. Like at the end of the day, like when cards are splashable in every deck, the prices are going to be determined based on supply and demand by players. So even if it was a common, we've seen a $40 commons before,
I remember the Vanity's Emptiness days.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
So
I mean, though that one was like it had been out for a couple of years and people didn't think about playing it before it became 40.
Also a short print set that did not get a reprint.
True.
Allegedly, that's changing though, from what I hear. But regardless, as far as the Fiendsmith goes, from what I've seen of like OCG metagame reports, I feel like that's more dictated by their ban list or anything like that. But we can talk about that down the line. But I think being able a 1-card rank 6 combo is just the rank 6 toolbox is probably second to only the rank 4 toolbox.
Agreed.
With its access to great cards. You've got obviously Beatrice, you've got
Lars.
Wave King Caesar, which are the two primary exceeds that if you're playing the Fiendsmith engine that you're going into. But you also have
M7.
I was about to say M7, who's a great for a great follow up card. He mentioned Lars. Like the rank 6 toolbox is getting better and better. Like the rank 4 toolbox is still arguably the best of all time, but rank 6 is catching up. I think even with Kashtira, the rank 7 toolbox is still the farthest behind. But if I were to with the Fiendsmith engine, it's going to force an issue with these rank 6 toolbox cards, because DD King High King Caesar is 2 level 6 fiends. Well, what is Fiendsmith Engraver? What is the new TCG exclusive fusion that you can literally just send an engraver equipped with the link 1 to the graveyard to summon? You don't even have to have
Necroquip?
Yes. Yeah. You no longer it's just a one card engines are part of the problem. I feel like same with anything that is just a 1 card combo starter, like look at Snake Eye Ash.
Yes.
So I think going forward, there should be more of an attempt to make decks more reliant on having, and you can do this with tier 1 decks. You can make them more reliant on having needing more than 1 card to get started.
Okay.
But we can of course talk more about that down the line.
Sure. Any other thoughts on Fiendsmith?
Get it now.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're at a sneak peek this week, the weekend that we are recording this video, the weekend of sneak peek.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the ability to get all of the engine and are going to the NAWCQ in Austin, do so this weekend. Don't rush on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Wednesday when the OTSs can sell it, or Thursday, Friday when you're trying to beat out everybody else, because it's likely only to get more expensive from here, depending on once everybody starts opening the set.
I know, agreed. Especially considering that they already announced that we won't get a ban list until late August.
Mm-hmm.
The set just coming out, its premiere event is literally going to be the NAWCQ.
Yep.
So I really don't see it being hit or even touched anytime soon. So it is at least a good investment and a great time to pick it up. And I can only predict that it'll only go even higher moving forward.
Absolutely. Moving forward, though, let's talk about the not Max C in the room. How do we feel about the jellyfish? Talk about Molcharmi.
I think with the one that's coming out this weekend, it is. I don't think anybody would disagree that it's a going second card. You have to have it in. Very few decks can play it in the main deck. I think. Obviously, Tempai will main deck it. Any deck that is primarily built to go second should main deck it. Unironically, it is an Aqua, so you could theoretically see anybody playing tier make it, because Kaleido Heart requires Rhino Heart plus 2 Aquas.
Didn't think about that.
So, push comes to shove, you can main deck it in tier theoretically. I don't think it would be the best idea, but I don't know. I am a big believer of the opinion that cards that give you advantage over your opponent when you committed absolutely nothing are very unhealthy for the game, regardless of this one being on special summon from hand and normal summon. Suck it, Flu.
Yeah, Flu is no longer safe.
Flu catching stray elves for no reason.
Right.
I mean, they've
It's only a matter of time.
dodged the ban list multiple times, so this is maybe an
Still ban
inadvertent.
Please.
Listen,
But no, I think it's. Yeah, I think it'll see play this weekend. I think there's a new card smell. The one coming out in Rhoda.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically watered down Maxi.
Yeah.
I do like that they tried to give it some limitations, like you have to control no cards. You can only activate. I think you can only activate 1 Molcharmi monster per turn. So when the new one comes out, you have to pick and choose which
Right.
one.
What's applicable in the time.
So, but I do, and I think like if you have more than 6 cards in hand, you have to shuffle back until you have 6 in hand. So, again, I don't like, from my perspective as somebody, and I will be absolutely biased. I am a combo deck player. I do not play control decks. I do not play stun. I play combo decks, and this is me coming from a biased opinion. I think cards that give you, I said this earlier, but I'll reiterate my opinion. I think cards that grant you card advantage for doing nothing while your opponent is attempting to play the game. Cards like Molcharmy, cards like Molcharmy's, cards like Maxi, cards like Droll. These cards literally give you, the player who uses them, an advantage over your opponent for your opponent simply committing an action. I think those cards are unhealthy and unbalanced for the game, and I would like for Konami in the future, we could talk about this in the Banlist discussion,
Sure.
to actually do more when it comes to hitting those types of cards. Obviously, in the TCG, we already have Maxi banned. It's one of the greatest things possible. People will argue, well, now Konami would have to hit, if Konami bans something like a lot of these cards now, that deck design would have to be different. Great. I welcome it. And I'll let somebody else take over.
All good. I personally feel like that card is very similar to Maxi, as you said, but in my opinion, I remember when Maxi first came out, and it was not that impressive just due to the simple game state that we were currently in.
Right.
So I can see this card only getting better, and just based on like the up and coming card designs. I see this card definitely being a staple moving forward. But in regards to the the WCQ, I'm not too sure how it will perform because there is a lot of variety and a lot of decks right now, and I feel like it can affect majority of the playing field. I still think it depends on like right now, because there's so many one card combos.
Yep.
It just really depends on how players are like trading their cards with each other, and like that's what still makes it Yu-Gi-Oh at the end of the day.
I think a good parallel for the Molcharmies is that restriction of you have to have no cards on the field. That's the same thing as Dimensional Shifter, and
Yes.
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I mean, no cards in graveyard, very similar, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where people just glossed over D-Shifter thinking, oh, you know, it's too much of a restriction. I'm not interested in playing this card.
Right.
And then, like, over a year later, people are like, whoa, this card's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
D-Shifter went from being a 50-cent common in the 2019 Megatins originally, before it had its first reprint, to a $10 card.
Right.
Simply because of the applications and decks like Flu and Kashtira.
It was considered like the weakest of the new cards that
Yeah.
came out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It was,
Dark
and now
Ruler were
it's-
over.
I actually was of the opinion that that card would eventually see play in the right deck. Like, it was already seeing play in like Thunder Dragon decks, because it hurt every match. Like, it punished Striker, it punished. Like, Dragon Link had just sort of come out in the TCG because that same weekend the Rocket Structure deck was
Yep.
released. So I remember I played Dragon Link the first that regional. That both sets were legal. So I've always been a fan of the term reverse power creep. I know I've said this to Edgar and Flea before, but I think reverse power creep absolutely exists. Look at cards like El Shadal Window.
Yeah.
That card simply got better and better to the point where people were actively starting to call for its banning, because as the game got faster and faster and more special summon reliant, cards that stopped special summoning or limited special summoning, floodgates like those, became absolutely more insane. Look at Summon Limit. Summon Limit went from being when was Summon Limit originally released? It was a common in
Oh
like
my.
That was a long time
And
ago.
it's
ancient,
legal on
man.
Edison format, so it's old.
Yes.
Yeah. I
So-
was playing that when I started back in 2009.
Look at cards like Summon Limit. Like, that card wasn't initially good, but then as time went on, as the game got faster and faster, like, we talk about power creep, about cards being. This might be a discussion for another video. We talk about power creep as cards getting worse and worse as time aging poorly. Some cards, like I said, age better off, and I think the Molcharmy, as card design changes, as focus on card design changes, maybe we'll get another normal summon reliant archetype similar to Flu, or at least at the bare minimum.
Gen
Like,
X.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look at the Gen
The new Gen X cards.
They're
And-
coming.
The Gen X, we have the Gen X deck that's more of a coherent deck because of the Link 1.
And that's something that I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Will always have, is Yu-Gi-Oh! Will always have deck archetypes like Flu, Gen X, that are going to have a simplified line of play, because the game is very hard to introduce to new players.
Yes.
When you think about decks that new players can play, you think about what decks are simplified enough that they can learn a lot of the basic mechanics without locking themselves into difficult lines of combo.
Yes.
Right.
So I think that is always going to be something that is remaining in the game, is there will be at least one per format. We'll have to see yet if Gen X is that new Flu.
No,
Isn't there-
absolutely.
Isn't there this thing in psychology? It's like the paradox of choice.
Yes.
You think you want a lot of choices, but the more choices you have, the less you can make a decision.
Yes.
And that's the thing with combo decks. You have too many lines.
Too many
you
lines
don't know
of
where to
play.
go.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just easier to take one of those decks that only has one line of play and just run with it.
Yep. So moving forward, we got that super cool, fun video about Mimicool, bringing back Flip Monsters
Oh boy.
in 2024.
Guard dog, let's go.
Guard-
I
shot
think
up.
look, I think the flip mechanic is just one of those that has seen immense power creep over the years. Like, yes, it was good in formats prior to synchro summoning.
Right.
Things like morphing, things like empty jar FTK.
Shoutouts to Paul.
I think from the initial card design, I'm not hopeful, because something that gives it away. None of the cards, like obviously the cards that come during this current block run of celebrating the 25th anniversary, all cards that come Ultra and Secret also come QCR. Well, only the boss monster got a rarity above Super. Everything else is Super or Common. I'm not. My hopefulness for Konami doing well on TCG exclusives kind of stopped with Time Thief Redoer. Time Thief Redoer was the last TCG exclusive that we've received that has seen any sort of play in a metagame. Mm-hmm. But overall, from a card design perspective, I've ever since if you want to talk about wholesale TCG exclusive decks, we've had in the history of TCG exclusive cards. Obviously, it started with Infernity Barrier in 2010, 2000.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And then these cards were
Meta defining.
Yes, Reborn Tengu TCG exclusive.
Yeah.
But then you got into the wholesale archetypes. You got Burning Abyss. You got Kaiju's. What came out with UA came out with Burning Abyss. That didn't seem much outside the technical play. But your primarily TCG exclusives that have seen play: Burning Abyss, Cosmo, Kaiju's, Spiral. But that was more because of the OCG releasing Double Helix, and Subterra to an extent too because of Guru. But at that point, it wasn't even you were playing a Subterra deck. You're playing a Guru with a bunch of floodgates. Yeah. So. I think Konami has been very lukewarm at giving the TCG very competitively strong TCG exclusive archetypes, and quite frankly, I don't see anything with Mimighoul that would make me think that this is going to be worth my time and effort. If I were to play it, if I want, maybe I take it to a locals one day, but outside of that. This doesn't seem like a deck I would take to a regional, let alone a tier 3 event or higher, simply because Konami's recent history with TCG exclusives and just auto nerfing them to the ground before they even have a chance to walk has shown me that they're not worth. They might be fun to pick up. The art looks great. I'm surprised Konami spent all of the time to make a 10-minute video announcing them.
Yeah.
But my willingness to look at the TCG exclusives as anything more than TCG exclusive archetypes. Now, the one-shot cards occasionally will be worth playing, but I think from a perspective of a competitive player, at least, it's not worth the time and the effort. At least on the first wave. Maybe on the second wave, maybe they'll get a secret rare, but Konami's investment into making the boss monster, the only like anything above a super,
Right.
tells me they don't even care about it really.
Yeah, so the last time Guard Dog saw any hype, it fell off because, let's be real, flip effects, right?
Yeah.
Who's gonna, I mean, maybe Shadal's, right? They were
Maybe
viable,
Shadal's, yeah.
but it's because they weren't, it wasn't for the flip effects, it was for the graveyard effects. So,
Yes.
and like, the last time Guard Dog was even semi-relevant was Prediction Princess. People hyped that thing up. They were just like, yo, look at all these good flip effects they gave us. We're gonna play Prediction Princess. And that just fell off.
We saw where that went.
Yeah.
But oh man, it's crazy the amount of cards though that have shot up. That it goes back to what you were talking about power creep versus reverse power creep, fire sorcerer, the one that allows you to discard to do damage.
If people are hyping up Mimigul, has Royal Command gone back up? That floodgate flip effects?
Yeah, because I remember
Wow.
in Duelist Alliance format, people were actively hyping Royal Command up.
For Shadal's.
Yeah.
Would still lose.
Yeah, because lo and behold, it only stopped the effects that don't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Shadow Imprisoning Mirror and Light Imprisoning Mirror
Yep.
in that same
Yep.
format. And
So
then they
much
realized it was like, okay, I just summoned Construct instead of Winda.
Yep.
Like,
People, and then all of a sudden, that was about the time that people realized that Construct was just the better fusion overall.
I mean, Quadruple Foolish Burial is hard to beat.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, moving forward, Gimmick Puppet got some support coming
boy.
in Infinite Forbidden.
Junji Ito.deck.
Yes.
Yes.
So they got the. We were talking about this before we started recording. They got the rank 8 that toolbox is another. Level 8 that toolbox is another level 8 out of the deck. Locks you into. I think it locks you into Gimmick Puppet or Machine XYZs. Doesn't matter. There's a TCG exclusive that actually summons from the grave and locks you into Machine. That might see play in the deck too. They've got the new level 4 that on normal summon sends a Gimmick Puppet. Oh, and the new level 8 for Gimmick Puppet. Also, if it's sent to grave, adds itself back to the hand, so recursion. But the most important card, I think, is the field spell. That's Sengen Kaiman all over again, which was basically miscellaneous source. The ability to, one, search on activation, protects your... And not only that, but it protects your Gimmick Puppet monsters from effects of monsters that aren't XYZ monsters. So look at the best decks right now. Ubel,
Yeah.
and realistically, it's just pretty much
Snake
five
Eyes.
Snake Eyes.
Yeah,
But
Snake
Ubel
Eyes.
is like
King.
Ubel is the spell book to the Snake
Yeah.
Eyes Dragon Rulers essentially.
Exactly. That's exactly the parallel I was going to make. Like, let's be real. Snake Eyes is the big piece of the pie. And
Yeah.
then you got, there's a sliver there, but it's like, is it really
20%.
that much?
But so, back on the Gimmick Puppet thing, the deck is an FTK deck. The field spell is what enables the FTK, because if the only thing that is stopping, if you do not draw in the Gimmick Puppet matchup, if you do not draw Imperm Droll, you will lose.
Free.
You can't Ash. You can maybe Ash like one search or whatever, but it's like if you do not, because you can't nib them.
Right.
You can't Veiler, you can't Ghost Mourner. You quite literally have to have explosively for the Gimmick Puppet matchup, Droll and Imperm, because those are the only cards that actively hamper the deck. Look at the OCG. The OCG has a history of clamping down on FTKs really quickly. They banned the level 8 number, it wasn't number 15, I think it was number 30. It's limited to 1 now, and I'm pretty sure the deck can still FTK.
Right.
I think I have a solution. Hanewada.
The Rock.
I think this.
You heard it here first, guys.
I mean, get Leonidas, the DD King Leonidas too, while you're at it.
Sure.
And if we're talking about
Aw,
cards that
man.
stop burn
Take
effects,
burn.
Yeah.
or damage jugglers at 3 now while we're at
Oh
it
my
too.
god.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
isn't
go
it?
+1 while you're at it, guys. Yeah.
So my thing with the Gimmick Puppets is that they also have the Gimmick Puppet lock, right?
So the thing is with the Gimmick Puppet lock, is unironically the new deck does not play the strings. If a branded player gives them the strings,
no,
they're just telling,
thank
oh
you.
no, thank you.
Oh
Yeah.
man, poor branded players.
Yes, like unintended.
They can't
nerf.
blind do it anymore. It
They
sounds
deserve
like they
it.
should side
Man,
it.
I've been gimmick puppeted one too many times. They deserve to lose to that.
Oh man.
But unironically, the FTK, I think FTKs are generally a problem. You and I both played FTKs.
I mean, I've FTK for 5 years. I think it's great.
But the deck is, I think the deck is, like I said, you open imperm and droll, or you lose. That's the gimmick. That's where you are with the gimmick
It's
puppet
the
matchup.
gimmick of fighting gimmick puppets. Haha.
Yep. Well, I guess you could. Well, no, because you can't ogre the field spell because the search is on activation. So.
Right.
You know, now that I think about it, I think it really depends on like the rest of the format as well,
Yep.
right? If there's such a small percentage, and there's going to be so many Snake Eye players, Fiendsmith is going to be played in most decks, and then you also have the Ubel decks running around as well.
Right.
Yep.
I think another big discussion right now is are people going to be leaning towards board breakers or hand traps?
That's another
That's-
thing
yeah, that's
too.
a
the
good question.
WCQ.
'Cause we are definitely in a hand trap format right now.
Currently,
Yep.
but info, will we?
You're gonna see a surge of Tempai players for sure.
Yeah.
Their consistency just went stonks.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
the Pokey-
they
the
went
Pokey-
to the moon.
And the Pokey and the new Ultra, which is basically their version of Poplar, add to hand, summon, free body, let's go. I think that deck has more consistency available to it now instead of rather relying on opening the regular monster, I forget what the name of the super rare escapes me, but they don't need to open the quick play spell or the field spell anymore to be able to like actively play. They have a normal summon that
Right.
that lets them play. They also have a trap that lets them go first. That lets them go first now if they're forced to. But I think it's the whether or not decks like Gimmick Puppet, Tempai, any sort of rogue deck is going to be good. NAWCQ weekend is relevant. It's good. It's just going to be relevant on what the deck build choices are.
Yes.
So, but we can get obviously that because there's certain cards that you want to discuss.
Yes, of course. We're moving on to my favorite cards coming out of this set. Of course, being the new Madolche support. We got Mini Meowcaron, which helps fix bricking gelato in your hand. We've got Tiara a la Fraise, which finally updates Tiara Misu into a quick effect into playing on both turns. And we've got Dessert, which I'm still playing with if I want to run Dessert. It looks interesting. But I will just say the big thing for me was I'm a little disappointed, personally. On the rarities, that's a me thing, bias being selfish, because I don't want to put a super rare Tiara a la Fraise on top of my ulti tiramisu, but that's a me thing.
OTS packs, please.
OTS plus, please.
Rarity
Konami,
collection.
please.
The rarity collection.
Rarity collection. GCR Bonanza. Please, please.
It's got a top 32 with Madolche, and it goes in the next LTS pack.
Yes. Madolche Giant cards. Listen to me.
So I do think one deck we do need to discuss. It's the other deck that takes up the vast majority of the secret slots. Whitewoods.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So-
those are the synchro cards, right?
Yep, the discard spells and traps, and the spells and traps reset themselves. They have, I think those cards have various applications. Obviously, if you're a synchro deck, you've been hurt by the recent banning. We say recent as if it wasn't just, like the ban list feels forever ago, but it was the most recent ban list that they banned Baron and Savage.
Yep.
Yes.
So now the lines are kind of different. I've seen multiple variations of Whitewoods. I've seen Runic Whitewoods, which don't get me started on the Runic engine. We could be here all day. We've seen Centurion, which look, at this point, if you're playing Centurion cards in the TCG, you're trying to King Calamity your opponent.
Yep.
Oh God, yes.
Absolutely.
But I think the Whitewoods cards are neat. I think being Spellcaster, obviously they have being able to search any light spellcaster. They have various applications. Like they can search you could splash a mini branded package with Cartesia, Quem, Send the Fallen of Albaz, stuff like that. It's very much. I think those cards again, and it's going to be very dependent on what everybody's looking for, but that deck has access being to spellcasters. They have access to Secret Village. They have access to various M lines. They can quick synchro on your opponent's turn, which I always like. I always like.
Always a good effect.
I like my formula synchron effects. I personally think that I personally think as forms of interaction goes that being able to synchro summon, being able to summon on your opponent's turn is one of the more. I won't call it germane, but I will call it very interesting, cool, very has its applications. Obviously, look at Flute with being able to normal summon.
Yep.
So, if we're sending spells and traps to the graveyard for their effects, Metal Foes fusion, guys?
Well, that's the thing with the deck's inherent spells and traps is they will, if you discard them for the effects, they reset themselves, and they've got a search spell already. They've got on normal summon search. They've got on special summon return to the extra deck summon. The deck does a lot, but again, why would I play Whitewoods when fire cards exist?
Yeah.
Right.
True.
That's the thing.
Or fiend cards.
At least the coming weekend at the NAWCQ and Euros. I think you'll see a lot of Whitewoods at like regionals, OTS championships if you're playing a case tournament or anything competitive like that at a local level. I think the deck is good. I think the deck is good enough for that. But on a grind of 9 to 12 rounds plus top cut, any form of top cut, I would just be playing fire. But I think the Whitewoods cards, especially as the deck gets more support, because we're in the current block of archetypes, we're getting more and more support for everything in the Snake Eye original Sin lore. It's going to be interesting to see where card design goes for that deck.
Right.
I think with this set premiering the week before the NAWCQ.
Oh, no, technically it releases the week of the NAWCQ.
Okay, well,
Yes.
sneak peek, But
Yeah, right.
people get access to the cards the week before. I think it's going to be a lot of people facing these newer decks or the new support for these decks at the NAWCQ because so many people are going to be excited to play these cards.
Right.
They're going to be like, well, where else am I going to play them?
I think the live stream for at least the first 5 rounds is going to be Konami trying to find the players with those specific that aren't playing. Like they might find the one Fiendsmith Ubel or the Fiendsmith Snake Eye player, but they're going to be looking for people playing Whitewoods. I don't think
somebody
Ritual
show me
Beast.
Millennium, please. I
think-
need to see the deck.
More of the gold sarcophagus deck cards because that Yugi.
Oh, that shining sarcophagus.
Yeah, the Shining Sarcophagus because they got the Dark Magician for it.
Yep.
But like, I think the first five rounds or so are going to be Konami trying to find all of these decks, and then they're just getting for the live stream, and then they're just going to give up, and we're going to see a lot of.
I mean,
the
once it
small
moves
players.
forward,
Yep.
into Top Cut, we're
once
probably
you-
going to see a lot more Snake Eye, Fiendsmith,
Yeah.
Yep.
those kinds of plays.
So, here's my thoughts on that. I think if you're playing some form of fire, you have it correct, and then maybe if you're also playing Yugo. If you're trying to actively get top 64, trying to go to Worlds, or something like that, you should be playing some form of fire, like whether it's Snake Eye, Fiendsmith Snake Eye, Fire King Snake Eye, or you should be playing Yugo. Those are your options for
Tempai.
I don't
Maybe.
think I don't like. Maybe you'll see a couple of Tempai. Maybe you'll because it's top 64. The variants will be there.
There will be at least one squeaks in,
But like, if you're trying, your best bet is to play some Blue Fire. And I personally don't think, granted, and it's not because of. I've had this discussion with a few people. I don't think Fiendsmith Snake Eye will be the best version to going into Nats.
Agreed.
And it's not because it has nothing to do with access to the cards. I think from what we've seen, pure Snake Eye, just from a consistency standpoint, this feels a lot like Zoo all over again. Yes, there were multiple variations of Zodiac. You had your at the initial, you had your Coach King Zodiac, you had your Kaiju Zodiac, you had your Grass Zodiac, and then it transitioned to True Draco. And but then we came into the NAWCQ season that year, and Pure Zoo was the best deck. I think that's what you're gonna see. The reason we see so much Fiendsmith Snake Eye in the OCG or Fiendsmith Fire in general is if you look at their ban list, Wanted's at 1, Ash was at 2, now it's at 1, Bonfire just went to 2. The ban list sort of begets the deck building for the OCG because that's how the OCG.
Those are the slots that they lost and they had to replace them.
Yep.
Makes sense. Also, I feel like Droll is going to be insanely popular.
Yes.
And if you're on the Fiendsmith engine, you're just going to be punished. Like, it doesn't matter what deck you're pairing it with, because if that's your initial search, because it is a free combo that does not require you to normal summon, Droll is going to hurt you, and it's going to be the turn skip of the day. Like, you have to play on Droll.
You have to be playing cards like Crossout.
Yes.
The one called by.
The one Gamma.
All of it.
Yeah.
The answer is all of it.
The answer is if you don't want to lose to Droll, you play all of the outs.
You have to, because that card is going to be relevant, especially for that event. I'm not sure if it is moving forward, but I've noticed a trend of normally when we get new cards introduced to the card pool, or anytime we get a ban list that shakes up, who's on top of the hill, Droll seems to always come back, and I feel like it always comes back when people don't necessarily know where to place their hand traps, and at that point it's redundant to play cards like Ash or Valor and Perm, and just play something that's going to cover the entire turn. But as time progresses, we'll see these trends shift out for more optimized cards that we are familiar with.
I think because we are going into a new format, whether or not you are deck building, obviously we've known about info releasing on the NAWCQ weekend for close to 4 months now.
Yes.
So obviously people who've had their invite for a good bit of time have had the opportunity to test, especially if you are one of the more competitive players, the guys making the rounds at all the YCS. You're constantly getting your top 8 at a regional, or you're making top cut at a YCS. Those players have had the opportunity to test those cards. Those players are constantly testing for what is the NAWCQ format. And when we talk about the ban list, I wish we had gotten the certainty of when we were getting a ban list a little sooner,
Right.
because that gives testing a little easier. If I know that I'm playing these cards, if I know these cards are going to be legal soon, not just from a set perspective, but a ban list perspective, a lot sooner. There's a lot less worrying about my part. There's a lot less trying to control outer variables. Anything that I can now more easily control, the things that I can control when it comes to deck design and matchups. So I appreciate we can talk about this when we talk about the ban list, but I appreciate the heads up.
Yeah.
But I wish we would go back to a more stringent date for the ban list. The OCG has the ban list at every 3 months. I think we should do January 1st to March 31st, and then April 1st to September 30th, because that time frame covers the NAWCQ, Megatons, as well as the first set of a new block into the new season, and a potential reprint set or a core or a side set.
It kind of feels like Konami's going backwards in that direction, because you remember, we did have solid dates at first.
Yep.
And then they switched to no sooner than dates. And then
thanks in that cross format.
Then they started telling us, sometime after this period maybe is when we'll release it. Then they stopped telling us altogether. But now they're kind of like, hey, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
we'll let you know around the end of August, and
Remember when Firewall FTK was everywhere and
Take
people were
me
just
back.
like,
No.
people were just like commenting every post on Konami, even like the non-Yu-Gi-Oh Konami post was like ban Firewall, ban Firewall, ban Firewall, ban Firewall, ban Firewall, ban, and that's because of the ban list design, the current TCG feelings about the ban list. I could get the idea of making it, designing it to be flexible,
Right.
to see how a format changes. But let's just be real here. Part of that is that not your job as a TCG company? Do you not have an R&D department that tests these cards, tests these interactions? Obviously, you can't find every interaction, but as a TCG company, R&D is a part of it.
Right.
You need there shouldn't be a need to have a flexible ban list state if you know how if you yourself have been testing how the card interactions work with each other, how these anticipating deck designs and stuff like that.
True, but I feel like when it comes to like the R&D departments of card games, that is a can of worms within itself. Because, like, all right, for example, in Dragon Ball Super, not the most recent one that's out now, but the previous one from like 2017, 18. Every set they would test the cards within the set, disregarding any of the previous sets.
only the set.
Literally the set.
No other
Yes.
You
influence.
can't do that with Yu-Gi-Oh! Considering
Yeah,
we
you
have
can't.
Carpool is-
10,000
but what if they are?
cards in creation.
That's the problem. That's the thing. The R&D department should understand that, hey, we are a card game with no set rotation, with an infinite with basically infinite card.
Access to the entire.
I think it's hard for them to test that though when like we don't really even have like a set date on like ban lists. So like maybe
Correct.
later on like we can see that happening. But I do give them their flowers where they are definitely designing better cards now than they have in the past decade.
And
The card
I
design's
think
pretty good.
moving forward, now that we're going into the ban list discussion, I think that is something that they're moving towards is a healthier card pool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that they are taking positive steps forward, and I know not everybody agrees with this, by banning a lot of those generic cards.
Yes.
The floodgates.
Yep, you can just splash into any deck. As much as I'll miss Boral Savage, I think that it is healthy for it to be on the ban list. I think that in terms of predictions, honestly, I think Appo's going to go.
Yep.
I think Appaloosa is going to get hit this ban list. I don't think this ban list, but maybe next ban list. My crazy prediction is IP.
Yep.
I think IP will get hit.
I'm not so certain on the IP simply because like it's the formula synchron for links.
Right. But
I think you have to. I think with. I don't think because we got Unchained Soul of Rage in the same set that IP came out, and Unchained Soul of Rage, obviously Unchained didn't do anything on release, but as it got more support here in as Legacy support, it got better and better.
Right.
But if you look at Unchained Soul of Rage, it does the same thing that IP does. It does the same thing IP does, but it locks you into darks. I think we'll see IP get banned when we get more stuff like that, where we get a quick effect on your opponent's turn, link summon. Because we have a trap card now with the Armored Exceed stuff that lets you exceed summon on your opponent's turn. We've always had with
Fusions.
being able to fuse on your opponent's turn when Super Poly was first introduced.
Yep.
So
Tyrion Synchro on your opponent's turn.
Formula being the progenitor of establishing your summoning mechanic on your opponent's turn. And that card was hit at 1 at one point.
I just think that IP, not like I said, not necessarily this ban list, is going to suffer the same fate
Right.
as Link Cross,
Right.
Hulk,
I
Link Karibo. Those things that, when they're used appropriately, sure, when they're used as intended, and then when you talk about what we were mentioning earlier, how you are talking about the entire card pool of Yu-Gi-Oh! Being available to everybody, you are talking about the most creative minds in the game, thinking about how can I abuse this to its fullest extent, and not necessarily in like the evil sense of the word abuse, but just in the how is this going to help me be the best player in the format?
Yes.
And so
Right.
when IP is used in those scenarios, I think just like Link Cross, just like Hulk, eventually, that's why I think maybe next Banlist or even the Banlist afterward, it's going to suffer the same fate of getting hit. Verde Anaconda is another perfect example.
So
I think there's a difference between a card like IP and a card like Hulk and
agree.
Verte.
Yeah.
Where Hulk and Verte toolbox, like both the main and extra deck. IP sort of toolbox is the extra deck, but not in the sense that
it's an end piece.
yeah.
It's an end piece.
It's like where, and like IP, I think IP's only as good as the things you can bring out with it.
The ceiling of the game.
I think it's a bit unfair to compare IP to Formula Synchron, because Formula Synchron is not, you can't make it in every Synchron.
Right.
You can make it in some of them, sure, but I mean, IP, you can make it every single deck,
Yes.
every deck,
Everything.
and the best thing to go into as SP, Little
Yep.
Of
course,
so,
yes.
like every deck can do that, and if they want to take away that and that little bit of an engine from Snake Eyes, for example, they probably will.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think if Snake Eyes sees anything hit come August, late August, we'll realistically, let's say Labor Day weekend.
Sure.
I think they will put Ash to 1, and they might ban Original. Original is what lets
It's
you
the quick effect?
Original is the one tribute a monster, send from field.
Summon level on fire.
Yeah.
Is it the quick effect or the normal spell?
The normal spell.
Normal spell.
So I think you would actually, because obviously Konami is not going to do anything to Diabell Star or Promethean Princess herself themselves, because those cards are getting reprinted in the quarter century box in.
Yeah.
And they're being used to support the new decks that
Yeah.
were announced over in OCG.
Yep. So I think Original Sin is the card that takes away, if you hit Original Sin, you take away the splashability of the Diabell Star package itself, because the most you get off of summoning Diabell Star is like you'll maybe get the trap, or you'll get the new stuff that plays Diabell Star package. You've got the fusions that come out in Rhoda that play the original Sin, but not original Sinful Spoils, but the rest of the Sinful Spoils support. But the original is what lets you toolbox out of the deck cards, and we've seen in the long history of this game, cards that let you toolbox out of the main deck are just almost always inherently broken and have almost always been hit at some point. Emergency Teleport,
Yep.
Rescue Rabbit,
Tour Guide.
Zodiac Barrage. 1-for-1 is still hit. 1-for-1 went to 2 in the OCG, and then it went back to 1.
Except when we made a mistake.
Yeah.
Or
Is that 3 for some
it's
reason
true to
now,
its
but-
lore. You can only have one for
One
one.
for one.
Like the format itself, I think those I would put Ash to 1, and I would ban Original.
I agree. Yeah, because Ash to 1, yeah, the deck can still play, but you get DD Crowed, you're not recurring anything anymore.
Unironically, I also would say that Flamber should also go to 1, because this limits the ability for the deck to recur back the level ones from graves.
And I think that's actually the popular opinion, is a lot of people think that Flambridge getting hit will be the appropriate amount of stifling to the deck.
I don't think so. I
You don't think so?
that alone is not good.
That alone is not going to... Yeah, I agree with
it does
Edgar.
it does everything it already does. The only thing is now it doesn't have a Snake Eyes, big Snake Eye in Spell and Trap Zone follow-up.
Or put the IP, it doesn't put...
Well, so the thing is, without having the IP in the back row, I feel like they're more susceptible to board breakers, so there may
Yep.
be more silver bullets. But on top of that, as you said about the Flamberge being put to 1, with the Fiendsmith cards being introduced now, most of those decks can actually afford to play them.
Yep.
So it might actually have to be a all or none situation at this point because of the update.
Yep. And then let's look at other decks, because obviously you can't hit Snake Eye and not hit other decks. The question is, what else in other decks gets hit at the point in this point in TCG? Because it's always this. All right, cool. This is the top level, and if the top level's here and we hit it to where it's here, now all of a sudden this new best deck becomes toxic. So
Yeah.
we have to figure out what else
is like, is Ubel going to be doing too much at that point once you hit
So-
Snake Eyes? Or
In my opinion, I don't think hitting anything is the answer at this point because we have too many problems.
Right.
And high key, if we've learned from our mistakes, every time we hit something, a new problem will emerge.
Right.
So that's not the answer at all. The only things we should be hitting are the generic things that are played in everything, like Beatrice, unfortunately. And I love Beatrice. Anyone who knows me knows that I love the Lava Chain,
Yep.
or Foolish Burial, or sending my cards to the graveyard, Armageddon Night.
Yep.
So, as someone who has abused the mechanic to send any card to the graveyard, Beatrice is unfortunately on the hit list because of Fiendsmith. And for the simple fact, what do we say? The rank 6 engine is really good, but now it's accessible. Before it was not as accessible, and because
like
it is,
maybe
it
playing
will be
Disseals
abused.
and Mally to like make a rank 6, but now every deck has a 1-card starter that
Absolutely.
lets them. Speaking of 1-card starters, unironically this may be out of left field, but a very Konami thing to do would be to ban Fabled Blurry, the card you search off of
Yes.
the Beatsmith spell. It would be a very Konami TCG thing to do.
yeah, they're not selling it to us. Why not?
Yeah.
Chad.
This
Instead of reprinting, we'll just ban it. See it.
I hope you like obviously get the mileage out of it if you're playing it. If this eventually happens, I don't know. We have NAWCQ and Euros before we have to really worry about making actual banlist predictions. But I think, like you were talking about Appaloosa, I could see Appaloosa, but also at the same time, if the mulch, circling it back to the mulch armies for a second, I think the existence of the mulch army cards,
Makes Apples irrelevant.
because you'll need, if you're going to play into the mulch army cards, you're going to need some form of end piece to where your board you don't get destroyed on your opponent's turn from your opponent drawing so many resources. And Appaloosa is, quite frankly, that card is one of those cards that might be able to protect you from your opponent fully resolving a mulch army.
Right.
They're still gonna draw 4 cards,
Yeah,
but you know,
you'll have
you gotta
something.
Appaloosa.
You got a 2 to 3, you got a 2-3-4 negate Appaloosa that might just, maybe they didn't draw enough.
I hope they don't draw that impermanence.
Yeah.
And
no.
just,
Yeah.
you know, you gave them free cards and you can still lose the game. So I agree there.
So, but like with IP, I think IP will maybe get banned.
They gave us all the different rarities. They can ban it now.
You can say that for a lot of cards
does
that we want
tend to
banned.
be what they like to do is they'll
Yeah.
give us that beautiful gift of an updated rarity.
Like,
and
look
then
how
go,
pretty this
"Okay."
is. Anyways, you can't play with it anymore.
And it's gone.
But-
You guys got 2 artworks, by the way.
As far as my wants go for the ban list, Konami OCG is finally pulling off more Spiral stuff. I would love for us to see Spiral Master Plan off the list.
Well,
But I think, unironically, before the existence of the Beansmith cards, I was one that was like, we could have Laval Wall Chain back, and then I realized, no, we can't have Toolbox extra deck cards are bad.
No.
Maybe make it 2 level 4 water or something like, or 2 level 4 fire because it's a fire.
But then look at the OCG with releasing MX Saber and Invoker off the list.
please. That's a good one.
So maybe that's a
Level 3
Madolche support.
Yeah, maybe.
I'd love to summon Amazon as
That'd be
Archer
interesting.
again.
But I think Pot of Prosperity needs to go to 1.
Or
I don't-
none.
Or
I-
one
I
or
was
none.
gonna say, I would not be shocked if Prosperity got hit.
Because being able to dig for 6 freely, if you're most decks now, like Snake Eye, Ubel, are all, well, Snake Eye does it because the original effect draw, but like a lot of decks playing Prosperity, it's a dig for 6 at any card you
How do
want.
you feel about Prosperity in the up and coming format with everyone's extra deck being so tight?
But look at Tempai. Tempai's playing Prosperity, and they can
They can still OTK through half damage.
Yeah,
It's true.
I haven't been seeing
is a
decks
problem.
playing it lately, but I agree. It's one of those things that once the format changes, it's coming back in to 3, and you're gonna be upset that it didn't get hit sooner.
Yeah,
That's
I
fair.
mean, but that's the same thing with anti-spell fragments. That thing's been a problem for years, and look at that. They just now hit it to 1. Like,
look at when Order finally got rebanned. They thought putting an errata in it in
I
2017.
said, it's not mandatory. That's the problem.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
It's one of those things where they typically like to hit around the problem,
Yep.
which I'm sure their R&D is working on testing to figure out maybe how that would be better than hitting the problem directly. But that's not for my brain to know. I don't work for Konami. If
I
you ever
think-
want to hire me, but
We were talking about the gimmick puppet log earlier. I do think the gimmick puppet level 8 that Brandon plays absolutely needs to go. I think King Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity needs to go.
Yes.
Cards that turn off your opponent's turn.
ability to play.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't provide stimulating gameplay. I think about Mystic Mind format,
Yep.
where on stream we were watching 20 turns pass with absolutely nothing happening on either side. When there's no interaction, you're not playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right? Those were some exciting live streams, guys.
Let's look at, and then I think about it from my favorite thing to call back when it comes to interactability on a live stream was when it was YCS London 2018, 2019, in the middle of the Danger Dark World FTK, and they had that little kid playing against Jesse Cotton.
Oh, man.
Yeah, too creative.
But we're gonna move into wrap up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this discussion. I am looking forward to making more discussions like this. I'd love to get a variety of players involved. I would love for your feedback in the comments. What did you like about this discussion? What would you like to see in future discussions? This has been something I've wanted to make for a very long time, discussing theories about the game, how you feel about the current formats, how you feel about cards coming up. So I'm very excited to be able to bring this to you guys. I already have plans to update a lot of equipment. This is our backdrop right now, is in our brand new shop, Jack of All Trades in Stone Mountain. So you can come visit me, Madolche and Madeline, in person if you're around Stone Mountain every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. I am so excited to continue filming these things for you guys. I hope you guys had fun. I know I did.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
But I hope to see you guys next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.